I love love, and I want to help people figure that out and what that means to them and their couple. After my daughter was born, that first year, my wife and I went through the hardest year of our marriage and had a massive breaking point in that anniversary. It really taught us a very powerful thing, that we really need to focus on what truly matters. And it's just something that really opened my eyes to the reality that this needs to be paid attention to.
We can't show up for our children authentically and how they deserve if we don't think about all the things that come into our life and come into their life. To me, the most important relationship is the relationship with myself, followed with the relationship with my partner, my husband, and then the relationship with my kid. Because my kids are not going to have a healthy life if me and my husband are resentful, yelling, holding our insecurities against each other. And that is, I think, what many people forget about parenting and about being in a relationship.
For one, we're just so tired, physically.
Yes.
So just you're drained physically of running, doing, going, and being. Because you're doing so much more, you have less time with each other. Kids just add more on your plate. When it was just the two of you, you didn't have that many dishes to do. When there was the two of you, you didn't have to clean up a whole room of toys that got played with at the full day. Just the two of you didn't have so much laundry to do every week somehow.
Welcome back to the show. You are watching this on our YouTube channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. I love to be able to bring amazing guests to you every week. And today's guest is someone who's just that. I've actually been on his show, and I'm excited to have him on my show today because he has a new book out. We are talking with Eli Weinstein, therapist, international speaker, and host of the Dude Therapist podcast. That was what I was on. You may have seen him on the Kelly Clarkson show or connected with him online, where he brings humor and honesty to parenting, relationships, and mental health. And his new book, From I Do to We Do, Navigating Relationships Through Parenting Years, dives into the very real challenges couples face once kids enter the picture. I know I've been there too. From invisible labor and shifting identities to intimacy and communication struggles, Eli's mission is to make these conversations accessible, stigma-free, and practical. We'll talk about what motivated him to write the book and the tools couples can use to not just survive parenting together, but actually grow stronger through it. Welcome back, or welcome to the show, Eli. It's so nice to have you on. I feel like you're back on, even though I was on your show, but it's just that relationship we've created now.
We have a good back and forth.
Yes.
This is my first time being introduced with the title of the book and being an author. It's such an honor to do it with you and the audience. I cannot wait to speak to your audience. It's such fans of what you do, and I'm excited.
The feeling is mutual. I loved going on your show. I love being able to go on many people's podcasts, but I love the work that you're doing. I've said this before, sometimes the space that we're in when we think about parenting therapy can be very female saturated. So it's really important to me, like going on the Dude Therapist podcast, like having voices that are diverse, right? And that includes ethnic diversity, but also males, because dads are involved in the picture. Dads are part of relationships too. And we really need to have that voice. So I'm really excited to talk about your book. I'm proud of you, even though I don't need to be proud of you because I'm not your mom or anything. But I just am proud because I know you. I know the work that goes into writing a book, even though I haven't been there yet. I see it. And so first off, congratulations. And what inspired you to write this book?
I honestly have been afraid to write my entire life. And I actually talk about that in the conclusion. The conclusion of the book the title is I Can. Because of a third grade teacher of mine, Mrs. Itzkowitz, who basically told us to throw away all the I can'ts, all the I won'ts, all the I don'ts. And we took them and put them in a box and we buried them in the backyard of the school, actually. And she looked at us she's a very, very tiny woman. She was actually my backyard neighbor growing up.
Nice.
And she said, everyone, today, all those I can'ts die. Right here is where you think of a way to figure it out. You ask for help. You try. I can. And so to be able to write a book was never my plan, ever. Because
do you know if she's still alive by any chance?
Still alive.
Can we send her this? And that is so sweet.
I told her already. She knows.
Oh my gosh,
she cried.
So
she called me. We cried together on the phone.
That's so sweet.
It was this moment of I got given the opportunity to say I can to myself.
Wow. Yeah.
Which is something that I've avoided newsletters, blog posts. I don't do that stuff because I can't write. but I can clearly. Um, Hopefully it was done well. Thank God for editing. Um,
Yeah.
but the inspiration came when it really started, this whole idea of being a relationship therapist and really diving into the idea of I love love and I want to help people figure that out and what that means to them and their couple. After my daughter was born, that first year,
Yeah.
my wife and I went through the hardest year of our marriage and had a massive breaking point in that anniversary
Mm.
of that year. And so for us, it was a huge tell for like something needed to change because we were just not on the same page, not out of love, just not knowing what the hell was going on because of a little tiny beautiful miracle. We had to go through IVF. It was a lot of pressure. It was
Yeah.
insane, but it really taught us a very powerful thing, that we really need to focus on what truly matters. And it just something that really like opened my eyes to the reality that this needs to be paid attention to.
Absolutely. I mean, you talk about that first year, we felt that both times. We have our son and then our daughter also, but our son was a product of birth trauma, meaning
Mm-hmm.
very traumatic experience where I was in the ICU. My son was in the ICU. Most of my listeners know that. And even though even without that, right? You just think about the new role of being a parent, figuring out another human, trying to figure out the roles, the identity shift, whether you have a job outside the home, like the separation of load and responsibilities, resentment, anything that like was in that relationship before having a child is now going to come to a head. And I saw
Yeah.
that with my husband, right? Like I had some resentment with him on things that I never really got to process before having a kid. And then when I had the kid, I noticed those things coming out. And I was like, oh, interesting. Same thing with him. And so these conversations to me are really important. And I've been very vocal about this on my show. My show is a parenting podcast, but having these conversations with you, for example, and this book and sharing this book with the world is really important to me because we can't show up for our children authentically and how they deserve if we don't think about all the things that come into our life and come into their life, right? Our own relationship with self. And in this conversation, relationship with our partner, if we have one, and how
Yeah.
important that is to nurture that and remember that as we're parenting our kids. And it's to me the most important relationship is the relationship with myself, followed with the relationship with my partner, my husband, and then the relationship with my kid. Because my kids are not going to have a healthy life if me and
Mm-hmm.
my husband are resentful, yelling, holding our insecurities against each other. And that is, I think, what many people forget about parenting and about being in a relationship when you're parenting a kid.
Yeah. And I love that. And the book is really like 70 or 80% relationship and like 30-20 parenting,
I love that. And that's what it should
because
be. Yeah.
that's the foundation. And it doesn't mean that we are saying in the book, or even what you're saying is, hey, screw the kids, they're not important. No, it's, if you don't have that better foundation between the two of you, your kids will be screwed. And it's not that they're ruined for life. It doesn't mean that just because someone goes through divorce or has hardship in their home, that their kids are in trouble. But if you have a better foundation between the two of you, you have a better chance of creating a home with safety, security, all the S's by Dan Siegel and Tina Bryson. You can work on all those things. But if you guys are at each other's throats,
Right.
it will not be a successful home. And then what happens? What when the kids go off and leave, you're left with each other. And it's a very hard thing when you're pouring everything into your children and don't pour something into the relationship. So it's really just, this book is really a foundational. Anyone can pick this book up who's struggling in their relationship with or without children in their life. Pre-children, they just got married, they're dating, whatever state you're in. You don't have to have kids to read this book.
I love
It
that.
is in the lens of, hey, here's a lot of stories of clients over the last 10 years, my stories of dealing with ridiculousness of poop explosions and you're at your end with your kids, and I talk very vulnerably with my panic attacks that I had over the years because of, due to unresolved and unmet needs that didn't come out well, um, and even other arguments and classic things that we get stuck in because not the kids, the environment that it
Yeah.
now creates. So this is not a book of blaming children. It's a blessing and it's a struggle. And I'm very honest with it. I'm not a person who likes to sugarcoat things. I'm very no BS, very to the point. Kids can suck sometimes.
Yeah.
And but also there's beauty and power to that family home, creating the next generation, whatever your culture or value is. And it's something I'm so passionate about. It gives me goosebumps because I just love this work so much. I love couples. I love relationships. Some people think that's a sickness that I love doing that work.
Oh,
And
it's how I feel
some
about
days,
parenting. Like,
right?
I
It's
feel
a
the same way.
sickness. I love it. I'm
Yeah.
obsessed with it. And to
Yeah.
me, when it comes to, I've seen it, I've felt it, I've dealt with it, and I've worked with it. Any walk of life, any combo of religion, sexual orientation, it impacts every human being on this planet when kids and relationships come together.
Yeah.
So I'm just super excited.
Oh, I can feel it. I get goosebumps hearing how passionate you are about this because that shows that I know it's going to be a great book. I know it's out there. I haven't read it yet, but I'm going to grab it. And so, and I think it's also to your point. You mentioned like even if you're not don't have children, how it's an important book. I think this is a good book to read, even if you feel like you may not have any relationship issues because it's foundational, right? It's important to kind of know that things change and
Yeah.
maybe you're pregnant or maybe you feel like you have a solid relationship and then you read this book and you're like, "You know what, sweetie, we could be better at this when the baby comes." Or
And
maybe
even when the
yeah,
babies are out of the house, by the way,
right.
even when they're in college, this could be a good reset.
Yeah.
Like sometimes this is a reminder. This could be a reset. This could be I never thought of it that way, or that story speaks to me. And how can I learn from that?
And I know you brought this conversation up by talking about how that first year was hard, and I also
Hmm.
agree that that first year, because of the needs of the baby, right? The feeding, the sleep, the new roles we now have, right? Like it's not just Mona and Gaurav in my situation. It was now Mona, mom, dad, Gaurav. I mean, we're adding a new title and responsibility set. So in your book, you write about expectations, perceptions, and realities, the holy trinity that often can trip couples up. Which of these three do you see causing the biggest rift in relationships, maybe before or after children? And what's one practical way couples can reset this in real time? Or is it all three that are kind of rearing their ugly head?
A classic answer would be all three, but
Yes.
I'm gonna really just nitpick at expectations
Yeah.
because I think if we're setting ourselves up to a certain standard, and in the book I talk about that it's not about lowering your standards, being more realistic with them. We're not here to put our standards at zero and saying, well, let's see what happens. And the expectations to perception angle of that triangle is really where the trip up happens. That little right in the middle of those two. Because the example I usually give with this conversation is someone's working from home and the other person's not, and they come home and they see that the dishes are in the sink.
Mm,
And their expectation was, hey, you're home all day. You should have done the dishes. And now you see the dishes, and now your perception is you are a lazy son of a gun. You
mhm.
suck. What are you doing? You're just wasted time. I went out and worked, and this could be
Yeah.
to be either partner. Doesn't matter who went
Yeah.
out to work. And then now how do you interact with that person? You are just on edge. But because my expectation was there, and I never voiced it and said, "Hey, can you take care of this
Right.
before I get home? I would really appreciate it." It's the expectation that catches you because you assume, hey, this should be done. And then you walk into the space and now you're angry. So to me, a little tactic that I utilize a lot with my own wife, my kids, I push this so often with the clients that I work with. It's called a check-in.
Yeah.
And this is the night before or the morning of. 5 minutes. This is a logistic conversation. Solely logistic. This is not emotions. This is not ego. This is just check-in. Hey, what's on tap tomorrow? What's your schedule like? I'll give an example. This morning, my wife said, "Hey, what's on tap today?" I'm going to drop off the kids at school, going to get home and talk to Dr. Mona.
I love it.
And then I have
Yeah.
clients. And here's
Yeah.
my breaks. Oh, during that break, can you do this? For sure. Or I can't do it then, but I can do it later. That 5 minute conversation, and it's back and forth. It's two way. I do the same thing to my wife, or before we go to bed, because let's be honest, you're probably sitting in bed next to each other, scrolling or reading a book or watching TV. pause 5 minutes before you are ready to go to bed, whether it's the melatonin kicking in or you just had a long day and you're falling asleep. Um, hey, what's on tap tomorrow? What do you expect from me? What do you hope to get out for yourself? These little questions can really set up that you don't get to the end of the day and go, what? You're supposed to
Yeah.
make dinner.
Yeah.
No, it's Tuesday, Taco Tuesday. You're making dinner. No, what? No, it's Wednesday. Oh gosh, it's Wednesday, right? And then what happens? Now there's angst. Now there's tension. Now there's like, you suck. What is wrong with you? I can't rely on you. There's resentment. There's all this stuff. So 5 minute check-in, night, morning, every day, and it's not a big deal. This is not, you're better than me, you have a better job, you make more
Right.
money, you're out of the house, I'm in the house, I'm a single dad, I'm a single mom. No, this is what's on tap for tomorrow. What do you need from me? Let's get it done. 1, 2, 3, break. And then all the expectations are out the window because now we know. Now it hits that piece of screw the perceptions. Now that goes out the window because you don't need that anymore. Now it's reality. Now it's there. So that to me is such a life changer. I've utilized it. It has stopped so many arguments from bubbling over.
Are you, did you talk to my husband for this episode? Just kidding.
I did not,
The
but tell
dishes
him to talk to
example
me.
the dishes example is no, I'm gonna be transparent here. So that dishes example, I am guilty of doing that for my husband. Meaning, just say I go out for the night with some girlfriends, right? And
Yeah.
he's with the kids and he does everything else. He does their bedtime and all that. My husband hates doing dishes. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's what I know about him. Like, he hates doing dishes, he won't do the dishes. And so when I come home from that girls' night and I walk into the room and I see the sink full of dishes, my brain immediately went to, this son of a gun
Yeah.
didn't do the dishes, not all the other things that he did that night, right? And so what we did is really being very transparent before I left. Hey, guess what? I'm going out. Do you mind just doing takeout tonight? Or do you mind just doing something easy? Because if he's not going to want to do dishes, what is the alternative there, right? Because I don't want to come home to do the dishes. So then let's make it easy cleanup as possible. And once we started communicating that, it got better. So the next time I'm not coming home angrily, passive aggressively doing dishes, which I don't do that anymore. But, going back to this whole expectations and knowing what each of the person is capable or wanting to do. And obviously, middle ground is great, but sometimes it may be like, hey, I'm not wanting to do this. What is the alternative here? And I've always told my husband that communication is the root of all relationships with marriages, partners, with my child. It's such an important thing. And so many people lose the art of communication. One of the biggest things that we struggled with, and maybe a lot of my listeners may relate, is that I think that check in thing is beautiful. But then I have a husband who's a shift worker. So I can't have that
Mm-hmm.
evening chat with him for five
Mm-hmm.
minutes because he's intubating a patient in the ER. And
Mm.
when those days were happening, I started noticing the resentment starting to build because I wasn't able to have the check in. And then the next morning, when I wake up, he's sleeping because of our schedule being off. And so I'm not able to give him the rundown on what's happening. And so then it became me texting him, hey, good morning. Here's what's going on. And then he was like, I don't like that you message me, like stuff that needs to get done at the beginning of the day. And then
Mm-hmm.
the resolution there was us talking about this situation that, hey, this is check-in is really important for me, and that we all know that Ryan has soccer, or that you have to do pickup, or that I'm recording a podcast or whatever. And then it was understanding that it's not me being like short, because sometimes he takes it as like, where's like the hello, or like
Mm-hmm.
the season, like why am I being told right when I woke up what I have to do? And then once we just communicated the intent, it got better. So now he knows that, hey, good morning is not like passive aggressive. It's, hey,
Yeah.
good morning. I'm out for the day. So
Yeah.
you're not going to see me in the house. Here's what's going on. Check the calendar. And I share that. And maybe you have other tips for parents who have these sort of off schedules, but it was what helped us a lot, because I also believe that when he's home and we're able to go to bed and have that connection, and you're right that it's not a heavy lift, it's literally 3 to 5 minutes of like, let's powwow and let's just talk about
Yeah.
this. And it really has helped us so that there's not this sort of, well, I told you or you didn't listen and
Mm-hmm.
now it's my turn and you don't understand that I had it, because we dealt with that. We dealt with that for a long time because I was the person who had a more flexible schedule that ended up being the one who has to do more of the kid stuff. And
Yeah.
those roles would become less delineated and feel like, well, why is it me? And I always start to feel resentful. And I love that you brought that up because it's valid.
That's
Absolutely.
that's my role. I'm the flexible one because I
Hmm.
have my own practice. I can move pick clients around if I
Yep.
needed. I don't have to do a podcast right now. You can write the book later, right? So it is something that has really been an impactful shift, but it has to happen.
Right.
And one of the biggest things that I see get in the way of this check-in is when then we start doing the scoreboard, right? The tit
Yeah.
for tat, which are never. I don't usually use these languages like never, but like don't do that.
Yeah.
Tit for tat never works, never helps. This is not a game of winning and losing. Because once you start thinking that mindset of winning and losing, you've lost. You've lost because you're trying to make it a game. It's not a scoreboard. So as long as we're not scoreboarding it, we're really being genuine. It doesn't matter who put the kids to bed last night. It doesn't matter. It's today's task.
Yeah.
It's today. And there's other tactics that I can throw in of how to like not get resentful and all those other things of, thank yous and little loves and intimacy and things like that we can have to be able to take away that pressure of, you serious? I just did carpool yesterday. I got to do it again. Where are you? What are you doing? Right. So we don't get
Right.
into that headspace. There's a lot of places that we can really kind of figure that out. But if we're not communicating it, then it doesn't matter all the other stuff. I have very sassy takes on certain things, like love languages and all these kind of stuff. If you don't like each other or want to talk to each other, who cares how you say it?
Right.
Right? The
Very
perfect
valid.
we's and
Hmm.
I's and all the perfect, oh, but they didn't say that. Ellie, they didn't say, I feel it when. Okay, but you hate each other and don't want to talk to each other.
Yeah.
Who cares how
Yeah.
you're not even
Yeah.
talking? So as long as you're communicating, doing the check-ins, there's a lot more success that can happen.
Oh, I definitely want to get into the small moments that you mentioned. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think we will. And I think one of the biggest things that I hear and I had felt and I've obviously worked on is that one of the biggest pain points in parenting is the invisible, unspoken work of running a household, raising kids, things that may not be as obvious, right? Like the ordering of things and all of that. So like what women what women call the mental load, my husband believes that that's not a real thing, but well,
Oh,
that's a
it's
whole
so real.
conversation for a different story. But now he's understanding what I mean. But how can couples get better at naming and sharing that emotional and logistical load without falling into that, well, tit for tat and well, you
Yeah.
didn't do this or that blame game that I think often happens when I think the person who may have more of the load feels like that other person's not seeing them for the load that's being carried.
Oh, this is one of my favorite topics.
Mm.
Even though everything in the book is my favorite topic, but which is hard. It's hard to pick like your favorite child, but they're all my favorite children. Um,
By the way, in
yeah,
case you're listening.
favorite
Yeah.
first child, favorite second child,
Exactly.
right? So the one thing I say, the tagline I have for this whole topic is, you cannot quantify quality,
Mhm.
because what takes someone 30 tasks could take someone 7 tasks. It's not about the amount, it's the quality of it and how much it takes on their brain. My wife is an amazing logistical person.
Mhm.
If one client asks to reschedule in my workday or my week, my brain glitches. I'm like, and I can't, and I have plenty of space, let's say, to move
Yeah.
it. My wife, boom, boom, beam, beam. She is just a robot in that way, in the
Yeah.
most beautiful way. I have different skills, right? So I cannot quantify her doing Instacart, Target, Amazon, the kids schedule, the schedule for pickup. I cannot. So what? So I do the bigger things. I take out the garbage. I do this, that, and the other thing. I pay a bill here, pay a bill there, and then what? I then also stock up all the bathrooms with Tushy wipes and toilet paper. Big deal. Someone would look at them and go, of course it's not equal. It isn't. But we cannot quantify that quality of how much effort it takes on the brain and on the body. That's number one. So, number two, just about the mental load, it is so freaking real.
Mhm.
Men have a different mental load. The difference between men and women, from you look at Susan David's research on emotional agility, is that they're brooders, which means it's a hamster wheel mentality. It's going. And it's
Yeah.
just imagine you're just throwing more hamsters into the same size wheel. At some point, not all hamsters can fit. So men don't have that hamster wheel. It's more of like big picture things and general things that weigh on their brains. And this is a research thing. This is not just me and from experience. So that's the difference. It is a mental load. Mental load crosses both partners. The intensity and the consistency of it is a lot more aggressive in women because they're like, oh, that. And it's just more hamsters in that same
You're
size
right.
wheel.
That's actually a very good analogy because it does feel like a hamster.
It
And
is.
I will say that my husband is the same, that he does that bigger picture rumination. He's like, well, he's
Yeah.
thinking about the
And are we gonna?
finances
Oh
and like
yeah, the
this big
bills
stuff.
and
Yeah,
like
like the taxes and all, like,
yeah,
and again, I get what he's saying, that I am very good at like the hamster wheel, like, okay,
yeah,
this, that, logistics. And like,
yeah.
it's so funny because I can literally execute anything with my Google spreadsheet. Like, I'm like,
My
it's like a
wife,
hidden
my wife,
skill.
well, it's an
Yeah.
amazing skill. So
Yeah.
something that I do, I call it the Rumpus moment.
Mhm.
Why? Rumpus is my favorite word because of where the wild things are. It means to dance, to play.
Yeah,
I just love the picture of them dancing it's one of my favorite books growing up. Thank you to my aunt
I
Jackie.
love it. Yeah.
So Rumpus in my house, it's a key word or a trigger word or cue word, as you want to call it, to set the mindset of the conversation. So Rumpus moment means, hey, I'm about to air something out that's on my heart or on my mind. It's not to be an attack. It's not to be defended. It's to be safe and clear and calm.
Mhm.
Hey, when I'll give you exact example that I wrote in the book. My wife, I asked permission for my wife for all these stories. One day I said to my wife, hey, honey, can I clear the sink and put things in the dishwasher? And she like glitched and freaked out on me. And I'm like, what the hell just happened?
Yeah.
Hour later, my wife comes to me. She goes, Rumpus. I go, okay, mindset is this is going to be a real thing, vulnerable. I need to be present. That's what it
Yes.
triggers. Now, what happened? She goes, I am so sorry. You said, can I clear the sink? I got in my head that you were blaming me for not cleaning the dishes because I made the mess because I baked something and it was
Ah.
all the dishes that I made. So I thought you were criticizing versus actually wanting to help.
Mm.
I'm sorry I overreacted. Now, that takes huge awareness, huge vulnerability, huge guts to open up and be brave like that. That's what Rumpus is, right? I have all these tasks. I'm doing all these things. Rumpus, you get into that mindset of this is going to be vulnerable, this is going to be real, be present, be honest. Now, the person who's listening has to be able to sit in that pocket and not jump, and attack and push back. Someone's coming to you and saying something very, very real. So you sit there, listen, then you ask this question, can I say something or can I add something to that? If the person allows it and says yes, great. If not, there's always time later to talk about it. You don't have to force it. The person might just want to get off their chest so that it doesn't brew
Yeah.
into something bigger. It nips it in the bud. So if I'm a little pissed about this, or I'm a little frustrated at this, or this little thing annoyed me, or the way you spoke to me earlier, or what you did with the kids, or what you didn't do, or that bottle that's been sitting there for 7 days is still there, I can open up to you without it being something that now becomes part of a bigger conversation or argument. And then, like the Gottmans call it, the kitchen sink. I now throw it at you. But that won't happen because I already took care of it. It's gone. I told you, Rumpus, it's now out. It's done. It's the balloon has been popped, the air has been let go, and now I can breathe. So that would be a tactic to help with that mental load. I'll give an example of a client that recently told me this, that his wife was sick in bed.
Mhm.
Nothing serious, nothing crazy, stomach bug. Guess what? He had to be on all day with 4 kids.
Mhm.
That
Oh,
is
yeah.
hard.
It is
That is
hard.
overwhelming. The wife did nothing wrong for recovering. So what's the
Right.
Rumpus? Hey, honey, I love you and I'm so happy that you had time to rest. I just need to let this off my chest so it doesn't become something that I now hold
Yes.
against you. Hey, remember that weekend when you were in bed all day? You suck. And now I
Yeah.
do more? No, hey, that was really hard. I just wanted to let you know I did my best. It was just a lot for me. It was overwhelming. It's not blaming, it's not attacking, it's not doing anything. It's just saying what the feeling is. That was really difficult. Now we can move on. Now it's over.
And it is powerful. I mean, I love this because I'm speaking from an example of like when I talked about my husband having those shifts or he was gone for like a long weekend, right? And he then comes back to then working 2 shifts after being away for a long
Mm-hmm.
weekend. And that resentment builds up because we didn't have the Rumpus moments, we didn't have those check-in moments. And that bottle example that you gave, like he'll leave a bowl like on like the coffee table or something. It's not about the bowl. It
No,
never was
it's
about
never
the
about the
bowl.
bowl.
It was never about that. It was the fact that I was lacking the ability to connect and lacking the ability to get out the feeling of, hey, I really missed you when you were gone. It's been very draining for me handling all the kids' stuff, my stuff for the last 6 days. And it's not that I need him to fix that. And that's
Mm-hmm.
the thing that you're saying. It's not that I expect him to be like, well, I'm not going to go to work tomorrow. I'm going to
Yeah,
stay home. It's just almost the acknowledgement of a feeling, right? It's
that's
like
it.
when we talk about it with kids, right? We talk about it that when a kid is having a feeling, we're not going to shove it down. We're not going to say, well, don't feel that way. It's same thing as a grown woman and a grown man or anyone in a relationship being able to say, this made me feel something and I just want to be able to tell you in this moment and I don't need a solution. It
Mm-hmm.
is therapeutic and it actually can just help, like you said, to not allow things to build because that
Yeah.
buildup is what leads to that passive aggressive moment or whatever coping skill that you learned from a parent that is how they dealt with these
Mm-hmm.
situations because they never had those communication moments. And that's
Yeah.
where it comes down to. My mom was a passive aggressive person. When she didn't get those moments of being able to say how she felt, she would just be like, "Well, I'll do it. Let me just do
Mm-hmm.
it now." And I
With huffing and
learned that.
puffing.
Yeah, the huffing and puffing, and I started to see how that doesn't work well in a relationship, and I am trying to rein that in. And sometimes when I
Yeah.
notice that is when I say, "You know what? I think I need to have I love your term Rumpus moment." And I'm going to do that more and like say, "Hey, but now I don't have that word, but now I think adding that word is going to make it more fun." But I'm
Yeah.
like, "You know
It
what?
has to be a cutesy
Yeah.
fun word.
Yeah, and it does, and it makes it more fun to actually say it. But you're right because that happened, and I told him I'm like, "Hey, I'm irritated, but it's not because of you. It's because of you were gone, and
Exactly.
I couldn't talk to you. And even when I texted you when you were gone, you didn't respond, and I got very upset because you weren't responding to my messages, and
Yeah.
it was because I was trying to communicate something with you, and you didn't understand that it was important for me, and that is
Yeah.
again the expectation. So I love that. I don't think people realize just by saying things without solutions that you can actually see change.
Yeah.
I love that. Oh, I want to get into the communication after
Ooh.
kids. Like we talk about Pillow Talk 2.0 in your book, that you're obviously going to have to tweak how communication will look like after children. So, how can couples bring that curiosity instead of criticism? Or here's where you can kind of bring in those little small moments of connection communication that you feel are really useful.
So I wrote down like 4 things. We'll see if we get
Mm-hmm.
to them. If not, then the one thing that I remember years ago, someone told me that communication needs to be hot
Mm-hmm.
and it needs to be
Okay.
honest, open in 2 ways. It was like in a CEU course where I actually paid attention, continuing education, where I actually paid attention to just skip it to do the test.
Yeah.
And I don't do that. What are you talking about? And the idea is that we need to just be really real with what the conversation is. So, an iconic book that I actually read a year or two before even writing this book is Super Communicators by Charles Duhigg,
Mm-hmm.
who's like the main guy on habit building, better habits, better. I don't remember what it actually titled. Other title is the Super Communicators breaks down communication to 3 categories: feeling, logistics, and social. Social is like pop culture, what's in The Bachelor, Taylor Swift got engaged, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
All those social things.
Woo.
That's 70% of conversations is social interaction. It's
Mm-hmm.
the 30% that we get really caught up on. So if the first thing is we need to figure out how we communicate and what the conversation is. Is the logistics or a feeling conversation? Once we're on the same wavelength, I can then tune my brain to what we're talking about. If I'm having a feeling conversation and you're having a logistic conversation, we're not having the same conversation, even on the same topic, right? Who's
Yeah.
taking care of this? Oh, it's a logistic. No, well, I actually have undertones of feelings, and you're only talking logistics. Really? That's what you're dealing with? Argument. You don't see me. I don't feel respected. I had a client a couple years ago who was talking about taking care of things around the house, chores. And she finally broke down and said, "You don't respect and see all the efforts that I am making." Logistic, feeling. They were
Yeah.
not talking about the same thing. He's like, "What?" I said, "I'm going to do more about the things." That's not what this is about. It's about, I don't feel seen. Just say that. Never said. We didn't know we were on the same page. So that's number one, is having like the same wavelength. Um, I have this formula that's not a great, I'm not good at math, but I tried. I tried. It's mindset plus time plus place plus reassurance equals safety. Mindset is, are you ready for the conversation?
Yeah.
Hey, do you have a couple minutes to talk? Now, I know I'm a big talker. I have ADHD. I have a lot of energy. If I come after a long day of work and I come into the kitchen or the part of the house that my wife is at, and I just go blah, 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 and I talk to her, what if she's not ready for it? And she goes, whoa, 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 whoa. I feel rejected. I feel hurt. I feel unseen as a partner. So I go, hey, do you got a couple minutes? I want to talk to you about something. That's mindset. Are you in the right mindset? Number two is time. What if someone has a meeting? What if someone's running to go do something? It's like the physical space of time.
Yeah.
Place, context. Are we having this argument and conversation in front of our parents? Are we doing this in public? Is this in front of our kids? Are we going to do it quietly? How do we create that place? And the last part is reassurance. Is when someone doesn't have the mindset, time, and place to talk. Reassurance is, I love you, I care about you. Can we talk in 15 minutes? Right
Yeah.
now is not a good time. So if those things come together, creates a safety culture, safety space, so to speak, to have healthier conversations. And the last thing is a tactic. I do this with every couple I work with. It's called full communication. What I mean by that is if I would ever say to someone, hey, can you take out the garbage? One person hears that as right now. Another person hears that when you're ready.
Mm.
Another person thinks three other things. Who knows?
Right.
So full communication is literally saying the entire thought that you have about
Yeah.
anything from start to finish. Hey, honey, I know you're busy. I see that you're doing something or you're not, whatever it is. Can you please take out the garbage right now? Because it really means a lot because I'm about to make a big mess with cutting up a watermelon and I need the garbage empty.
Right.
Can you please do it for me? That'd be really, really important. Full communication, full thought. If you just say take out the garbage and they do it in an hour and
It still
then
was done. Right.
it still was
Exactly.
done,
Yeah.
but you asked me to take the garbage out. I
Yeah.
know I meant right now because of XYZ. Don't wait till that part. Say it beforehand. Full communication. Get the full thought out. So there's no assumptions, no needing to read each other's minds, none of that garbage.
Yeah.
And none of that, all those tactics that we fall into of they should know what I think. No, they shouldn't.
Right.
Full communication. I'm telling you everything. And then hopefully they receive that and now they can do what is needed because you told them everything. Or they can respond accordingly.
I love that you talked about assumptions because I think that is going back to the communication thing, and I'm gonna definitely read Super Communicators because I love learning about
It's
communication
an
tactics.
unbelievable book.
I love it. I think it's I mean,
Unbelievable book.
and like
Changed my mindset.
I think about it so much in parenting, and I'm so into how we communicate with children, and then because of that, I've become so interested in how I communicate with my partner and
Yeah.
my peers, and I should have been thinking about this even before children because it is the downfall of a lot of relationships and a lot of like again, resentment and sort of these assumptions that we create. And exactly, you did a perfect example with that garbage because I think everyone listening can relate to that moment of like, hey, the garbage. The other one that I know a lot of like I see videos on is like when people leave stuff on the stairs to take up. Like
Yes.
there's a lot of jokes about that. Like, you leave it
Yes.
there
I do
with
that
the
for myself. So
assumption,
I
yeah, with
remember.
the assumption that whoever sees it
Is
will
going to
take it
grab it
up.
and go.
Right, but then it's there, and there was one video that went around, which was kind of funny, that the dad was like, my wife does this fun game where she leaves little hurdles on the stairs, and now it's just growing, and I don't know why she does this for me. She must really love
It's
me.
like Ninja Warrior.
It's obviously a joke, but like,
Yeah.
it's an example, and it wasn't until I do the same thing that I unpack all the packages usually because I am the one who does more of the ordering, and I leave things on the staircase, but I expect and assume my husband's going to take his stuff up. And then he
Mm-hmm.
doesn't. And then it's that clear, like, hey, your workout gloves have been sitting on the staircase. Do you want to put those away? And it's like just telling him, like, that, hey, I've noticed that. And that's it. It's not that, it's again, not bottling up this narrative. And I think you've talked about this sort of narrative that can be created that this person is a bad person, like doesn't value you, doesn't do this for you. And then that's how you create that sort of resentment of like, well, now everything you do is against me. And I think
Yeah.
that resentment and lack of communication, especially after children, when the workload becomes so much more, is why this probably happens, right? Like, why do you think it's happening so much more after children? That this is, a reality for so many parents and couples.
I think it's a few things. I think number one, we're just so tired, just
Yes.
physically. Like,
Yes.
so just you're drained physically of running, doing, going, and being. So, and because you're doing so much more, you have less time with each other.
Yeah.
And because you have less time with each other, you're not talking and connecting and doing all these natural things that you normally would have done without kids.
Yeah.
Kids just add just more on your plate. When it was just the two of you didn't have that many dishes to do. When it was the two of you didn't have to clean up a whole room of toys that got played with at the full day. Just the
Yeah.
two of you didn't have so much laundry to do every week somehow. So there's just a lot more tasks and things, and you're taking care of two human beings and their happiness and their health and their wealth and their all the things. Schoolwork. My
Yeah.
daughter's in first grade. She has homework now. That's another thing, right? Getting them dressed, teaching them life skills, right?
Yeah.
Potty training, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Sleep training. All
Yeah.
these things that
All
if
the
we
things.
don't do
Yeah.
that, they're when they get married and have a relationship, it's a little weird if they're sitting in a diaper and they need their mommy to put them still to bed. So these are like life skills we're
Yeah.
teaching them. So it's like it's a lot more at stake than just the two of you who are adults already, maybe not fully mature, maybe still, children when you get married. I got married at 23, so I was a baby. So
Yeah.
like that stuff is a little easier. The stakes are not so high. And now you have more tasks, more bills, more responsibility, and you're supposed to have space to somehow still be the same couple?
Yeah.
Hell
No,
no.
and I think it's so important to call that out. I mean,
Yeah.
I see that, and I see a lot of, obviously going through birth trauma with my husband, and then also IVF was huge for our marriage. And I told him with the birth trauma, it really could have either pulled us apart or brought us closer together. And in our case, it did bring us closer together, but it also meant that we both realized we needed to go to individual therapy. That's what I
Yeah.
meant by I made us closer together, because we both realized that in order for this marriage to work, that we both needed to undo a lot of the things that brought us to that point, the trauma around the delivery, but also the traumas that we've carried from childhood and what
Yeah.
brought us into the coping skills. For example, when he retreats, because that's his coping mechanism that he learned, I lash out,
Yeah.
I claw out, I want to become passive aggressive. And how are we going to better communicate so that we're not creating this unhappy environment for my child? And going back to the beginning of this conversation, there is such a joy seeing my children see us love each other. Like when me and my husband, like when every night now when my husband's not working, I literally sit in his lap like a baby. And I'm a grown woman, businesswoman, like I make my own damn money, but I feel so secure and happy when I'm a 5'8" woman sitting in my husband's lap like a little baby and him just patting my head. And
Yeah.
my kids will see that and they'll come running and we're like, no, no, it's mommy time. We joke like, nope, mommy's
Yeah.
time on daddy. Like this is my time to cuddle. And then they jump on us. But I love that they get to see that. I love that
Mm-hmm.
they also see us repair in front of them. For example, I am the one in the relationship to be more of the yeller and the vocal one because that's who I am.
It's
And
me
if
too.
I do say something to my husband that is not kind or like I get irritated, the repair that I do in front of my kid, like, hey, Gaurav, I'm really sorry that I said that. We can talk about it later. But I noticed my son watching. And one thing I didn't get when I was a child, and I'm very big on this, is that my parents never disagreed in front of me. And when I grew up, I thought that disagreements in a relationship were bad, meaning when I
Yeah.
dated and I got into a fight, quote unquote, with a
It was
partner,
over.
I thought it was over. I didn't know
Yeah.
how to I didn't know how to effectively repair with a partner. But now my son gets to see that mommy and daddy just got into a little bit of a discussion, not like throwing things and angry, because that's not what we do, but that they repaired it in front of me. And this is how relationships go. And this is how my relationship with mommy goes too. Because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I've yelled at Ryan and so I really I believe that's so strong of a skill that parents can teach their kid that, yeah, even if you may not argue in front of your child, but if it does happen, hey, you know what, sweetie? I think we need to do this later, or I'm sorry that I acted like that, or I'm sorry,
Mm-hmm.
because Ryan really sees that. He's 5.5 and he takes it in and he'll come and say, I've noticed that when I've been tooty with my husband, my son will take my side and be like, yeah, daddy, you need to do that. And I'm like, oh shoot, that's not what I want. I don't want my son to come to my defense on an argument that has nothing to do with him. And
Yeah.
that is when I realized, I'm like, oh crap, like I got to start showing him the repair, not the daddy didn't do this or daddy
Hmm.
leaves his clothes around, because then he'll
Yeah.
start saying that. And I think, it's a tough thing to do, but it's very important for the kids from a parenting lens.
Oh, I'm so happy you said that. I write about that in the book as like some of the myths of like fighting equals divorce.
Mm.
Um, my mom told me when she got into the first fight with my dad, she was like, she was bawling, and he's like, "What's wrong?" He's like, "That's it, it's over."
Yeah.
And
Isn't
he's
that
like, "What are you
wild?
talking
Yeah.
about?"
Yeah.
Because in his home, my
Yes.
grandmother and grandfather fought like cats and dogs. My Omi and Oppa, that's my mom's
Yeah.
parents, never saw them argue, not even a
Right.
bad word. Now, I'm not
Right.
saying that shouldn't be the goal. Like, we shouldn't really
Correct.
be fighting and screaming and yelling as much as possible. But it doesn't mean we should purposely be fighting in front of our kids either.
Correct. I
But
agree with that.
it
Yeah.
will
It's gonna
happen.
happen. Yeah.
And I remember like literally my mom saying that to me, like fighting when I was dating, like fighting doesn't equal divorce. Fighting doesn't equal
Yeah.
end. It's how you repair and deal with it. My daughter jumps and takes my wife's side. Like, why would you do that, daddy? Why were you so
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
And I have to explain, like, there's an adult conversation, all these things. But like, I kiss my wife in front of my kids. We have a lot of PDA, nothing crazy and inappropriate. And the kids go, ew. And we do it even more.
Yeah.
We hug, my
Yeah.
dog joins in,
Yeah.
right?
So does our
Right?
dog.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But it's important to show love in front of your kids and struggle, because you don't want the narrative to be when I'm in a relationship and I have a fight that it's over, or that I
Right.
don't even know what it means to fight healthy.
Healthy.
Because
Yeah.
fighting happens. Conflict we try to avoid, but fighting and arguments it's two human beings creating a life together. That's not natural. It
Yeah.
doesn't work unless you make it work and you make those efforts every day. So it's just important, very, very important.
Oh, what other harmful relationship myth do you see repeated in parenting or relationship culture that you would like to rewrite? I
I know
love
you
that.
wrote that, and in the book, I only wrote 5. There are like
Uh-huh.
3,000
Yeah.
bajillion that I'm sure you
Well, the
see on
one you just
Instagram.
mentioned is phenomenal. I love
That's
that
number
one.
one. The
Yeah.
other one that
Yeah.
I'm very big on is you have to have it all figured out to
Mm.
make it work. And there's a story I tell that I heard years ago. I said from the old country because it's like an old story of like a town that they live near the sea. And the mayor or king said you have to like filter the water before you use it. There was a fire that broke out and the fire department ran out of water and they went all to filter the water. What happened? Half the town burned down. The king goes, "What the hell is wrong with you? Why did you have to filter the water?" He goes, "You said you have to filter the water before we use it." He goes, "But if there's a fire, you got to use whatever you can." Right? If there's a problem, you don't have to be perfect
Yeah.
because you're not perfect.
Yeah.
Make the efforts, do the best that you can. You don't have to be perfect to date. You don't have to have yourself all figured out. You have to have yourself figured out enough where you know what you need, we know what you want, and you know what is healthy for you. So don't be perfect. Be yourself, and you will
Mhm.
figure it out together.
This is parenting advice to everybody, right? I mean, I think like I had recorded another episode with someone about post traumatic parenting, right? Like how people feel like they have to have it figured out and that they have to be calm, cool, and collected to be able to raise calm, cool, and collected individuals. But
Not
we
true.
often forget that we're growing alongside our kids. And being in a healthy marriage involves growing. Like we have seen a lot of our peers divorce, infidelity, things like that. And it all goes down to resentment. It all goes down to lack of communication. It all goes down to the fact that people aren't having these conversations in their marriage and discussing hard things. And our marriage got better when we started discussing the very hard things and fighting fair, right? And you
Yep.
talk about that in terms of like in front and I love that you mentioned that we're not trying to fight in front of our kids and never
I
is
have a
that the
whole chapter
intent.
on that called Love and
Yeah.
War. It's how to
Yeah, but
deal with the
how
conflict.
yeah, and I think that's so important for kids to see, but also for us to create a more stronger, resilient marriage through the very hard things that will happen. I mean, we've been
Yeah.
married for 10
And this is
years and
not Disney.
yeah. Yeah.
I want to be very
It's
clear. This
and
book and these
I think
concepts are not Disney love. This is not some prince and
yeah,
princess riding off in the sunset. This is like the trenches of war that you then win together.
yeah.
This book is not lovey dovey. If you just love them, that's another one.
Yeah. Well,
If you
listen,
just love them, it'll all work
my
out.
relationship guidance has been not so great because I had 2 parents who never fought, so I didn't see that, and then I was raised on Little Mermaid and the 90s Disney, like you just said. So,
Best
like,
movies,
"Oh,
but
you're just beautiful and a prince will
You
come
just
get
beautiful,
you.
and you come out of the water and have 2 legs, and
You don't need
magically
to have
everyone loves you without
personality. You don't need
talking.
to speak. Like, just be that, right?
You
Like,
just have
don't
to have
get
a
me
good
started.
voice.
Yeah, don't get me started on Disney, but I love modern Disney. So my final question. I mean, I love this. I'm so excited for you, and I'm just excited for people to get this book in their hands. For we talk about the connection. What would be a story or an uplifting moment that maybe you or your wife did to each other that felt even more intimate than intimacy? Like maybe a grounding small gesture or that was something that you're like, I get you, we have this together, that really made you feel like you're a team, and especially after having children.
Yeah, so it really I write a whole chapter on, like, my admiration for my wife.
Oh, I love it.
She was, like, really annoyed at me. She's like, "Don't do this." I'm like,
Oh,
"This
I
is a
love
mother
that.
chapter. You're a
Yeah,
mother. You're my wife. It's
yeah,
happening."
yeah.
Um, and a lot of it was, I read a lot about poop explosions because my daughter, like, had crazy poops. And it was an iconic we were, like, first year with the kid, we were going away for the Jewish holidays, and we barely knew what to have in our own home, let
Right.
alone travel to my parents. And the baby was sleeping with us. Her name is Ricky. She was sleeping with us, and she was like, fussing, crazy,
Yeah.
crazy, crazy. And, you go through the ABCs, right? You check off, are they hungry? Are they hungry? Are they diaper change, burping, whatever the classic things? They're tired. And all of a sudden, we're changing my daughter's diaper. It's pitch black because it was like holiday. We don't turn the lights on, and we heard a massive shart. And we jumped out of the way, not knowing the damage. We turned on the lights, and the lights went on in the morning, or the sun came out, and we saw the ridiculous trace of disaster coming from my
Oh
little
no.
child's
Oh yeah.
butthole and
Yeah.
the insane poop. And we looked at each other and just laughed.
Oh.
And we're like, we can do this. Like, this is
Yeah.
insane. But, like, this is the journey. It was
Yeah.
stressful. But then the next day we look at it and go, oh my gosh, do you see this child? So talented. They pooped
Yeah,
that
look at
far.
this level.
It's
Yes.
Olympics, Olympic level pooping. And it
Yeah.
was just these, like, moments of being able to have humor and not getting crushed by the ridiculous situations that happen in everyday life with our kids. And it's about stepping back, appreciating the efforts that we have, and looking at the situation and going, we're doing it.
Yeah.
Maybe not so perfect. Maybe it's very messy, but we're doing it. But we're here together doing it. And I'd rather do this with you than any other person. And the mom chapter I wrote, that the person I love the most has given birth to things I love too.
Yeah.
And
I
that's a
love that. So
crazy
beautiful.
concept.
Yeah.
So to be able to have that in your mind, that I'm with the person I love the most,
Yeah.
with things that were created together that I
Yeah.
love, that mindset brings me together. I'm able to look at her and go like, oh, wow, this is pretty freaking amazing.
Well,
It's
tell your
hard.
wife that I love her too now, okay? Tell her
Oh,
that she needed to be in the book because that is
I'll
so
tell
sweet.
her.
But I mean, what you just said about the person you love the most, that you now created people that you love too. I mean, that is it. And it goes back to what we chatted about with how we often get so child focused. And don't get me wrong, I know they take up a lot of our time. I know that
They
they're the
do.
focus of our life, but you cannot neglect your relationship with your partner if you have a partner. I mean, it is something that I know it because I see it permeate into the child. I see how that impacts their understanding of the world, how they hear their adults in the world talk to each other and talk
Yeah.
about each other when that other partner's not there. I mean, all of that goes into that kid's psyche and in that brain of like, oh, this is how people talk about each other and how we love each other and what are the value systems that our family is going to have. And you said that so beautifully. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This was so
Thank
great.
you.
Where can people go to stay connected? I know your podcast, your socials, but also where
Yeah.
can they go to get your book? And I'll be linking everything to my show notes.
Amazing. So hopefully by the time this comes out, the website's going to be redone with a link on the website, but it's eliweinsteinlcsw.com. Very simple. You can check me out on socials, _LCSW, the Dude Therapist podcast. The book is From I Do to We Do, Navigating Marriage Through Parenting Years, Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, all the bookstores that I don't know about. Hopefully it's in every single one and in one near you. Please message,
Yes.
ask any questions you want.
Yes, grab the book. Definitely stay connected with him on social. Like I said, it's been such an honor chatting with him. Thank you so much, Ellie. This was such a great conversation today.
Thanks for having me.
I hope you all learned something. I hope you are going back to your partner if you have one and really wanting to use the tips that you learned and maybe get the book and read it together or listen to it together. Is it going to be an audiobook?
It better
Maybe.
be.
It better be good. And really take what you're learning and apply it. You know, this is stuff that's so important, not only for your relationship, but for your children too. And it's really just going to make you feel better going home and showing up for your partner, for yourself, and for your child with these tips. And if you love the conversation, leave a review on the podcast, subscribe to our YouTube channel, comment and share our video that we have on social media so that people can hear this conversation and the show can continue to grow. And I cannot wait to chat with another guest next time on the PedsDocTalk podcast. Thank you so much for joining.